you are suing the defendant for stealing her tax return.
I didn't know there was an issue until I got a paper saying that I was being taken to court.
She knew, Your Honor. She did say, oh, well, I seen that money and I'm so young, I just decided, oh, I'm gonna just spend the money.
We had moved in together.
That must have been some night. Come morning, you're booting her out. What happened?
I just kind of blew up, and it left me at the end homeless, broke, and unemployed.
Plaintiff Jennifer Henry was expecting a healthy tax return, but she got the shock of her life when it was stolen. She's suing for its return. Defendant Olivia Tulloch says she didn't steal anything, and she doesn't owe anything.
Swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
This is case number 212 on the docket, Henry versus Tulloch.
Okay, and welcome to both of you. We have the plaintiff, Ms. Henry, and you are suing the defendant, Ms. Tulloch, for $2,050 for stealing her tax return. Tell me about that.
I filed my 2017 tax returns.
Yes.
And with my accountant, and I was expecting it back on a certain date. So when I checked my bank account and I noticed that on that day the funds wasn't there.
Oh, so it was supposed to be a direct deposit?
Yes, I did a direct deposit.
From the IRS into your account?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So when I checked, I noticed that it wasn't there. So I was like, okay. I went on to TurboTax and I checked just to double check that I had the correct date and everything, and it was. So I'm like, well, what happened? So I started to review the file and I noticed that the routing number and the account number was not correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
And-
then
Yes, go ahead.
I went to the accountant and I said, listen, this is not correct. And then he told me to contact IRS, and I went through all the steps, contacted the bank, and then that's when I found out that Olivia is the one that it was deposited into her account.
Oh, so the IRS had your refund and deposited directly into the defendant's account rather than yours?
Correct.
How did that happen?
Well, the accountant is the one that put the...
So the accountant was the one that put her account number on,
Correct.
and so the money went to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did that happen?
So we have the same accountant,
Yeah.
apparently, and he also did my taxes as well.
Yes.
And I expected the money to come into my account, and I did get the money into my account, and I didn't know there
From
was
your
an
own
issue.
tax return?
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't know there was an issue until around October, when he contacted me and said that she was gonna sue him because of some misplacement, and I sent him all the statements that I had from my bank account. And then later on, earlier this year, I got a paper saying that I was being taken to court because she didn't get her money.
When your accountant informed you that he mistakenly had her refund put into your account, up until that point, you had not noticed it. You didn't check your account or say, wow, where did this extra
She knew.
money?
She knew, Your Honor.
Well,
I got money from the IRS. I got my taxes done. Why would I look at my account and see money and say, oh, I wonder whose money this is?
Well,
I got my tax
yeah, but you
return.
got two refunds, right?
No, I only got one money. And if I had gotten two, I would have been curious
Well,
and suspicious.
You got a refund from her
See, that's the
return.
thing. I got a return. I got money from the IRS.
So you didn't see the other return come?
No, I got one.
She didn't get one, because that makes no sense. How could you, if you know you're getting a specific amount, then you know that's the amount you're getting. And if you have more than the amount that you're getting, then you know you got more than the money. But I've spoken to her, and she did say, oh, well, I seen that money, and I'm so young, I just decided, oh, I'm gonna just spend the money. But it's not your money. Why are you
What?
spending it?
That's not.
Okay, what documents do we have here?
I have the 1040 that has her account number and everything, and then I have my checks to show that it didn't go into my account.
Because it has the routing number on your...
Right.
On your return, it says you were to have received $2,050, and the routing number is not your account. So this much we know. Her tax return was put into your account. What documents do you have?
I just have some statements and text messages of me speaking to the accountant when
Okay.
I tried to help him when she was gonna take him to court.
I have the bank statement as well from her bank stating that it was deposited into her account as well.
Oh, this is from your accountant telling you that he made the mistake. Okay, so it wasn't your fault that her money wound up in your account.
It wasn't, and I wasn't the one that necessarily did it. My father was the one who had every contact with the accountant. He was the one who was speaking to him. I was not told how much. I was not the one in the know. All I did was give him my W-2 and give him my bank account information. My
Yeah.
father handled that
She
for
knew.
me.
Let's say her motives were totally pure. She didn't know. She would still owe the money back. The point is, if money is mistakenly put into your bank account, either because the person who put it in, like the IRS in this case, made a mistake, or the accountant made a mistake, or the bank made a mistake, it doesn't matter. If money winds up in your account and it's not really your money, then she is entitled to have that money paid back. It's not your money. I find in this case for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,050.
Thank you, Your Honor. I feel good, actually. Because now, after all this time, I'm finally getting back my taxes. I feel good about it.
He was a fair judge, and guess she just has to get her money back.
Plaintiff Christopher Beck says his ex-fiancée gambled away her engagement ring and spent all his money. He's homeless and jobless and suing for $5,000. Defendant Tiffani Porras says the plaintiff broke up with her and tossed her out of the house. She owes nothing.
Case number 140 on the docket, Beck versus Porras.
Okay, and welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
We have the plaintiff, Mr. Beck. You are suing your ex-fiancé for $5,000 for financial turmoil and emotional distress via unpaid credit card debt.
Yes, Your Honor, basically what had taken place was in the midst of early last year, we had moved in together after a short time of reconnection, being that we had known each other through childhood as well as post-adolescence.
How long had you then, after the adolescence?
About 15 years.
Oh, so it was a 15-year gap before you...
Yeah, it was.
How did you meet again?
Through a mutual friend.
I see.
And we had just reconnected, remembered each other, and things, of course, turned into a romantic nature.
Good.
What had taken place was she had suffered a loss in the family, which was something that I totally sympathize with.
Yep.
I believe there was some distraught feelings or possible anxiety that had taken place. There was some bills that had been strewn all over about, which I wanted to consolidate into one manageable place that I thought would kind of take down the anxiety. I had asked her to move in, and after that we had consolidated debt.
So
pretty much
you
said
consolidated
her debt
into
my credit card.
onto your credit card.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
I
how much was
apologize, I
that?
should clarify. That was to the tune of about $1,500.
Okay.
Not to mention I was taking her back and forth to work.
Where did you live and where was the work?
Well, we live in Northern California. Work went from 1 to 2 different locations at a certain time, but it ranged anywhere between a 70-mile trip to a 140-mile trip. Of course, gas maintenance comes in, and that was to the tune of about $3,000.
Okay.
But in the midst of all this, we did find time to actually connect emotionally, and I had proposed, and I bought an engagement ring. There's not really anything I can do with it because she lost half of it, so it's worthless to me now. It was about $600.
He gave you a ring conditional on the engagement.
Mm-hmm.
That fell apart. Did the ring also fall apart according to him?
No, I gave it back to him.
Half of it.
What do you mean?
The other half was too
She
big
lost
and it
the
fell
other.
off.
She lost the
No,
other
it-
half in a casino.
No, it fell off my finger because it was too big.
You owe him for half the ring.
Thank you.
But the question I have, when you first moved in together, you didn't get engaged like that day.
No, it
No,
took
okay,
about a month.
all right, okay. Normally, when a couple moves in together, was there any kind of conversation or agreement how we're going to live like this? In other words, how are we going to pay for groceries? Who's going to pay for this?
There was no agreement. There's no agreement as far as who's paying what. It was everything that he had mentioned was a gift to me. And the credit, as far as the credit card bill goes, I had not even used it maybe twice before he cut it
Did you
up.
have a job at the time?
Yes.
So wait, so you moved in together, and immediately it was agreed in a sense that he would pay for everything?
No.
Okay, that's what I'm asking you.
There was no agreement on anything.
So how did things get paid? For example, when the rent was due, what happened?
You know, I would help out with what I had, but it wasn't my full responsibility when it was his apartment.
So you paid the full rent?
I paid everything. She had agreed on multiple occasions with contracts that had been handwritten that she would help to pay for these things, but instead of doing that, she went to Victoria's Secrets and bought underwear and ate at restaurants.
I don't think you objected to her buying the underwear.
Probably not.
But if I could see whatever these agreements were.
Well, I do also have the credit card debt that it amassed, as well as vacating premises and rental checks and whatnot for...
These are the agreements?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me look at these. Okay, so expenses were building up.
Yes, we started struggling, or well, I started struggling.
On May 28th, it says this is a contract.
It was a promissory note to come to terms in being able to handle her own side of the bills. Being that
Stating
my
that
finances
Tiffani
were
Porras
depleting.
will agree to pay Christopher Beck $185 per week to live at his apartment to help him pay his credit card debt. On July 28th, 10 p.m., you were so exact, you put the time of this agreement.
Yes.
We, the above mentioned, which is both of you signing it here, have reached a rental agreement stating that we will each pay half the rent starting August 16th.
Yes, sir.
All right. Christopher will decide if he wants to continue living with Tiffani thereafter. If she's agreeing to pay half the rent, then you're going to decide if she can stay?
May I explain the mild amount, Your Honor?
Yeah, but here's my other question. This is July 28th at 10 p.m. July 29th, the next day,
7 a.m.
at 7:31 in the morning, I, Christopher Beck, as sole proprietor of residence, am issuing Tiffani Porras a 3-day notice to leave. That must have been some night.
Yeah.
So at 10 o'clock in the evening, you guys are signing an agreement how to split the rent. 9 hours later, come morning, you're booting her out. When you first got together, who had jobs?
I had a job.
Both of us.
Where?
I had a job at UPS.
Okay, and you had a job at...
I worked for a food distribution warehouse.
Okay, so you both had jobs right away?
Yes.
At what point did someone lose a job?
I had 2 jobs.
Well, wait, if you had a job, how come you were driving her to 70 miles away or whatever?
She had no car.
I understand that, but didn't you have to get to work?
It was
I guess
a-
that was
Well,
just...
I worked graveyard.
Oh, you worked in a graveyard?
I worked graveyard at night. I worked at night.
Oh, the graveyard shift.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, neither of you made an agreement initially as to how the finances in this relationship would be handled.
I
But now-
attempted many times.
Yeah, but you didn't.
Receive
Yeah, because
reciprocation?
you.
No.
All right, you were happy that she was living with you. And in the beginning, well, I assume, or otherwise you wouldn't have asked
No,
her to marry you.
On the beginning of everything in the first 6 months, yes, it was pretty good.
What happened?
And that was exactly what I wanted to explain prior to you even asking, so it's perfect. But
Good. I try to work with you. Go
things
ahead.
were just very momentary. There was agreed upon things that had taken place, and then 4 minutes later, there'd be an argument about something entirely different. And finally, enough had been enough, and I just kind of blew up and didn't want to deal with it anymore. It just caused a lot of emotional distress. I had lost a job already due to these things. I was in the middle of acquiring another one. There were bills that she had never followed through with paying what she had stated she would pay. And it left me, at the end, homeless, broke, and unemployed.
On the first item of the suit, which relates to the consolidated debt,
Yes, sir.
that's a debt that you accrued prior to the time that you two moved in together. That's why they consolidated the debt. So that part is your responsibility. All the stuff that happened after, this is a romantic relationship. It started out as such. So you had a personal relationship, living together, for part of that time being engaged. When you're in a relationship with someone, you don't keep a sheet of expenses. If I drive my wife to work or something, I'm not saying I'm going to bill you for the gas. If we go out to dinner, I don't say, okay, I paid for this dinner, you're paying for the next one. Unless there is a form, that's why I kept asking, unless there is, and I don't mean just quickly writing out a note at 10 in the evening, unless there's a legal arrangement, which you wouldn't have in a romantic relationship. You loved her, and you drove her to work, which is what a good husband, boyfriend, fiancé would do. I'm going to say you were a gentleman, because if you guys didn't get into fights, if you didn't break up, if you didn't give her notice to leave, the truth of the matter is you wouldn't have sent her a bill.
I didn't send her a bill while we were in the midst of living together.
Right.
just
This had
blame me for
accumulated,
everything.
and on the point of me finally seeing
So
that this
now
is where
that
the
it
road
all-
would end,
Well, then you.
I just wanted her to agree to pay her half.
Well, then you know what? As soon as it started to get on your nerves, which I could understand. Okay, then you stopped doing it.
I did.
But okay, but you then can't say, back in the time when we were loving each other, now I'm going to bill you for it. That's not how relationships work. Look, anyone who's been in a relationship that ultimately turns
Emotional
south
distress.
is going through what you're going through. But while you're together and you voluntarily do things for each other, you can't keep score. When relationships end, that's why people wind up in divorce courts, and that's why the lawyers go at each other, and that's why you get all these horrible fights. What do you want to say?
I just, I was going through, a lot at the time, and the things that he had given me as far as the ring and the credit card were a gift. I hadn't had, a credit card, and he helped me build my credit. So he helped me build my credit, but the credit card that he gave me, I used it twice, and then he cut it up. And so how could I rack up a bill that I had never had a credit card to even use?
While you're in a relationship and voluntarily living together until you gave notice, this is what happens.
She exploited me.
Hey, welcome to the world of romance. Now, you're not losing everything, because she is going to reimburse you for the $1,500 consolidated debt.
Thank you.
Adding up the $1,500 and $250 for the ring comes to $1,750 in favor of the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is definitely over. This relationship has met its end. The train has stopped. I will probably never get into a relationship again. I will stay single.
It should be mutual. It shouldn't be one person paying for everything, which he didn't, because I helped out with whatever I could. Whatever I had gotten paid, I pitched in. So it is what it is.
Thanks for watching. Now please approach the bench. The way I look at it, you have two options here. Option A, watch more Judge Jerry. Option B, watch more Jerry Springer. The choice is yours. Now get out of my courtroom. You have more clips to watch. And don't forget to subscribe.